It's interesting. So if you apply it broadly to the CMO role, so the CMO role can be in many companies looked upon as running one of the largest cost centers in the business, right? And cost matters. Cost matters a lot. We don't want to be seen as just the lead generation guys, right? That throwing MQLs over the wall, right? And see if anything sticks. So we have to do more with less. We have to make the paid media that we put out into the marketplace work harder. So the content we create has to be better and better and better. And short form interactive video content is where it's all at today. So I understand like the direction you're going. That to me changes the dynamic, right? At the end of the day, like we sit in, and I was a CMO for a long time. We're short for tenure in the C-suite as an industry, right? Like we're the bottom of the barrel. Right? And we also need to use AI not to be just more efficient, but how does it make us smarter? How does it help us accomplish the challenges, the pain points that we have as an organization, but we have running our departments? Now, the same thing, the same lens, right? When we're looking at the CRO or, you're the CFO, it's all about doing our roles better, right? Engaging better, right? Spending more time, like you talked at the very beginning. So I just love to take that for a moment and kind of put it on the side because finding the right people to put into that environment that are going to be able to take advantage of AI in the way that you've just been talking about, that's a whole new skill set, right? I want you to talk, but I interviewed the CMO of a Fortune 500 company, and he had just outsourced the majority of his marketing department to Accenture. And the big reason why is he said, well, I need developers and I need prompt engineers. I need things that I've never overseen before, right? I need skill sets that I haven't traditionally had in order to do what I need to be able to do. So, how does like this never ending change in requirements and skill sets? It seems like an upheaval that, like, it's hard for us. Like, I know for me, like, hard to then decide, well, how do I even know what skill sets do I really need?
Yeah, it's incredibly challenging. I think they used to say, even a few years ago, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are part of the Revenue Pavilion, Revenue Collective, which was, a peer-to-peer network where you could share, because they would say, that by the time the textbook is printed, it's already out of date. So, and now there is no textbook. There's no schooling, I mean, I think I did a program at MIT a few years ago on digital marketing analytics, and that was 2023, and that's obsolete now, what I learned in that program. And so how do you find it, right? Because if you look at someone's resume, there's no program that says AI, and even if it did, by the time they graduated, it's already outdated, whatever they learned. I can speak for us as an organization. We are getting a lot more requests around roles that we've never had to source before, one of which is AI prompt engineer, and that comes up really often, right? As you can imagine, lots of companies are moving in that direction. Now, we struggle to find those folks, right? And even though that's our business, is finding these individuals, we've had some success in other parts of the world. There's certainly a shortage of that in North America. And if you are doing that in North America, then you're highly sought after. So your rates are outlandish, or, and you can get that. So you have to look at, these other parts of the world and think about, like, someone in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, that has a business, or in Ohio, and how many prompt engineers are in the area that can come into your office, right? Probably a very short list. And we're all fighting for the same group. So now we go international, and what we've seen is, like, yeah, there's some hotbeds, Latin America and India. There's tech orientation in some parts of Europe, but even the people that were traditionally considered tech resources, they're not necessarily a fit for what this is. And if you've ever, tried doing some prompting, it's a little different. So we find some of these individuals, but you have to kind of go back and peel the onion a little bit, right? It's not just like a look at the resume. We have to give them exercises where we say, "Here, let me see." And then we test their logic. Okay, show me how you got to that prompt, that work that delivered this output. And that's a big change from the way that HR teams used to hire, right? It's like they're screening. And what you have now is like you have AI that's screening the resume, you have AI that's writing the resume. So filtering out your HR team, a small percentage of the resume that are, usually keyword density, they're looking at how many times. But this people, they're not that true. They're just people that like technology or are fascinated with AI, and they may not have any traditional schooling. How do you unearth that? It's a challenge. Now, we post for AI prompt engineers. We could see sometimes that someone that's completely changed their resume to just say AI prompt engineer all over the place. But then you look at their background. And so, yeah, for us, the testing of what I've noticed right now is like, let me see your performance. Let me give you a task that requires prompting and let me see the logic that you use to get there. Right. And even then I look at it and I'm like, did they use AI I put that through AI and I say, was AI used to generate this? And then sometimes they'll tell me yes, a little bit or not. Right. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's an emerging field. There's a lot of obviously interest in these types of individuals, and finding them is something that we'll all have to learn to do in a better way. I think it's things that if you're at the front lines, like our organization, you get a little bit of familiarity with it. But yeah, it's a different landscape for hiring folks now than it was.